Here is the box art, and here is my own version of the same mini. One of them stands out more. But why? In this video, I'll break down the 3 rules that make my mini pop, how you can use them on your own models, and why ignoring them could be the reason why your minis don't stand out. So why does one mini look kinda bland and the other one pops and looks way more juicy? The thing is, most painters don't really think about their colors before they start painting. They just grab a brush and paint things the color they think they should be. Like, leather is brown, wood is brown, and maybe the boots will be black. And that's totally fine if you're painting for gaming. But if you wanna make your mini really stand out, you gotta use something that's called the 70-30 rule. When you look at this miniature, you don't really see a clear color scheme. Again, nothing wrong with it, but we can make it way more striking. And that's where the 70-30 rule comes in. 70-30 just means that about 70% of the colorful stuff is painted with your main color, and the other 30% with a second color. Now let's put a pin in this because I'll explain why this particular ratio is so important a bit later. For my version, I picked orange and purple as my 2 main colors. So 70% of the colorful stuff is orange and the rest is purple and cooler tones. All the fabric, leather straps, even the hood, I painted them in different shades of orange. Now you might be thinking, but Zumikito, so many parts are brown already, so of course it leans towards orange. And I say, exactly. Even though leather could be green or red or whatever, by leaning into oranges and browns, it'll make more sense and look beautiful. And really, brown is just dull, desaturated orange. It all fits. By knowing this, I can play with different types of orange. Some are lighter, some are more muted, and when I want something to pop, I use the brightest, juiciest orange, like on this crystal. Now that's the main color, but we also need some colder colors to balance it. That's where the 30% comes in. Purples and bluish tones. Instead of painting the cape and boots brown as well, I used purples to make the whole mini way nicer to look at. Now, you might be wondering, wait, surely not every little detail can fit into this 70-30, right? And that's correct. If you're painting small stuff like rocks or skulls, they don't have to be orange or purple. The idea is simple. 1. Use the most important colors in the 70-30 ratio, and 2. Paint the less important details with more neutral and muted colors. They don't really have to stand out. But why is the 70-30 rule so important? First of all, it makes your mini look balanced and more visually appealing. If you used like 50-50 ratio, it might be a bit too even and look weird and unnatural. The second reason is that it prevents you from making it too complex. So, do I think that featuring like 3 main colors is a problem? Well, it kinda depends. Some people even adjust this rule to 60-30-10. But, you know, I would rather keep it simple. And the third reason is exactly that. The 70-30 rule gives you a simple, easy to follow framework. In fact, once you understand the 70-30 rule, you'll see it everywhere. It's the reason why so many Warhammer color schemes are so pleasant to look at. They pick 2 main colors, use them in the 70-30 split, and fill the rest with more neutral stuff. And you can clearly tell which box arts pop way more over the others. Now, I realize that's a lot. So if you wanna remember and apply everything from this video, I've actually written it all down for you. Just hit the link in the description and I'll send you the full breakdown for free. You'll also get my newsletter where I share extra tips and advice I don't always include in the videos. So again, just check the link in the description and you'll find it. But anyway, the colors aren't the only reason why one mini pops and another doesn't. In fact, I am so confident about this that we can turn the painting footage to black and white and it'll still work. So let me just paint this sickle real quick and let's see if you figure out the second rule. Ta-da! Well, You get it? This sickle is painted without using any metallic paints, and yet you can tell it's supposed to look like metal. And the reason why is because the reflection is lighter than the shadows, which creates that shiny metallic impression. You can even spot tiny little scratches that represent battle damage. But again, you can tell not because they are different color, but because they are lighter. And that's exactly it. The second rule states that value, or lightness, is more important than color. Some painters use this rule to the extreme and use absolutely wild colors, and the result is fantastic. Just look at these examples. Of course, you don't have to paint exactly like them, but just knowing how value works will level up your painting. So usually you wanna do 3 simple things. First, use value to show the shapes on your mini. For example, there is this little metallic ball on his staff, so I simply paint a round reflection in the middle, because it's a sphere. Second, make the exposed parts lighter than the rest. This is pretty straightforward, so you could see me paint his exposed leg to be lighter than the other one, because that other one is in shade. This idea works everywhere, not just the legs. Armor, capes, everything. Third is a pro level trick. In this case, the lightest area is around his face, and that's no accident. By making this spot lighter, you'll naturally pull the attention towards it. So, how does it compare to the official box art? When we put them next to each other in black and white, you can really see it. The box art doesn't really have the exposed part standing out too much. For the most part, the miniature is painted with base coats and some edge highlights on top, and I don't think the focal point stands out much either. However, keep in mind that studio painters can't spend too much time on a single mini, and they have to retain a certain style consistency. I'm not saying that this is a poorly painted mini, just pointing out what I did differently. In fact, every Warhammer box art does one thing really well: definition. Everything we've been doing on my mini is building up to this idea. If your colors don't have a clear color scheme, the result will be too bland and boring. If you throw in too many colors, it gets wild and messy. But when you balance it just right, you get clarity and definition. And by using value in a clever way, you are doing the same thing. You make it easy to see which parts are exposed and which are in shade. You make all the shapes on the mini easily recognizable and seamlessly guide the viewer's attention. And all of this leads to, again, clarity and definition. But what do I even mean by definition? It's exactly the same as watching a movie. You can either watch it in shitty 480p, or you can have full high definition 1080p. It's exactly the same with painting. When everything on your mini is clear and easy to read, it just looks so much better. Now, Warhammer box art also gets great definition, but they do it a bit differently. You see, there are 3 additional ways to improve your definition. The first one is recess shading. Warhammer box art does it with washes, but you can easily do it with any dark paint. Or even better, you can simply start with a dark base coat, and once you start layering on top, you leave that dark base coat in the recesses. And that way, you make every detail nicely separated. Another way to get better definition are edge highlights. This one is simple. Just take a lighter color and carefully spread it along the edges. I like to highlight all the edges, even if just a little bit. It'll look way sharper that way. I do it all the time, and so does Warhammer box art. Additionally, if you're painting bigger surfaces or volumes, smoothness really helps. Now, it doesn't have to be crazy perfect, but if your blends are way too rough or patchy, it'll look a bit distracting. A clean surface, or even a textured one that's done on purpose, gives you way better definition overall. However, Warhammer box art usually doesn't focus much on painting volumes or light, which honestly is a bit of a missed opportunity because painting light can seriously make your mini so much better. So if you want to learn how to do that, check out this video, and it'll help you with that. And see you there!